Hey everyone, welcome back to AC's Fantasy Recap. Just wrapped up week 2 of the NFL season, and this episode is going to be a little bit different. We are going to be interviewing our top scorer this week. That is Mr. Sam Elliott. Had a very impressive week all around. Gonna get his thoughts on his matchup, what the rest of our league looks like. Gonna talk about some teams around the NFL, and then he's going to give you his Super Bowl pick at the end of the season. So without further ado, Sam Elliott. Very special guest coming to the pod today. He had a decisive victory this week, 158.48 to 127.56. He was the high scorer, our friend from out of state, the Pittsburgh Prophet. Welcome, Sam Elliott, to the show. Sam, good to see you, man.
Victory is upon us, boys. After, I lose 1 year, maybe I got last 2 years, something like that. But, those days are behind us. And now I'm here in my day of reckoning to just pillage and rape this motherfucking league. So happy to be here.
Wow, I mean, there you go. Definitely the bad days are behind us for Sam Elliott. Feeling very confident going into the week. And as I mentioned, he was our top scorer this week, 158. That could definitely be a top scorer of the year. Definitely put up some points there. Why don't you talk to us about what got it done for you this week? Definitely we'll go over some of your top guys, but how did you feel going into the week, and who did you really like to see perform last Sunday?
Not gonna lie, I was very worried going into this week. I scored 0 points in week 1. I then am traveling in the middle of the early slate of games on Sunday. So I'm watching the first half of games at the airport. Fucking the Dolphins are doing nothing. Tyreek Hill is doing nothing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my guys are doing horrible. I'm putting up no points. And I'm just like, geez, I'm going to lose again. I'm going to score 0 points. And then all of a sudden, I'm on that flight. Shout out Southwest, because you can watch live TV. So I'm able to watch games. And Tyreek Hill tears them apart, putting up 11 receptions, 190 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Shout out to Anon for being the best quarterback Tyreek Hill has ever had. So that was the one that really sparked me, like, oh my gosh, that's going to be 1 million points, and I might actually be able to win this week. And then the hits kept on rolling. So that was great.
Yeah, definitely Tyreek Hill, the spark plug for your team. I remember watching like that game late, and it was just like deep pass after deep pass. They're not like in stride passes, but he's just like 10 yards past the last defender, just scooping these things up, getting in the end zone. And a guy who I've been critical of throughout the season, as I'm sure you know, Aaron Jones, puts up a 30 banger for you Sunday night. Talk about that.
Yeah, no, that was huge, especially coming off of week 1. He didn't do very well. So definitely the anxiety was high about whether, and he was my, most, running back I spent the most money on. So I was definitely anxious about having a decent kind of RB1. But I think everyone kind of forecasted, if you listen to all the bigwigs who talk fantasy online, they said that with the departure of Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones is going to be getting the ball a lot more in the passing game. And that did come to fruition in week 2. So it was great to see him finally put up those big points. And you got to just hope that he kind of keeps one step in front of AJ Dillon and keeps getting the ball in the passing game. So you got to like what you see so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he for sure went off. Kyler Murray for you, 25 points as well. Definitely a good score from him. And it wasn't the easiest matchup this week. Like 127 from Wooly is, that would have won a lot of matchups in our league this week.
It would have won 8 to be exact. 8 matchups Wooly would have won.
Wow.
He only would have lost to 3 other people.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, Wooly put up a big score. We're going to get some of the other teams in the league a little bit later. Definitely good job by him. Unfortunate that he just ran into it this week. So you have a good team, obviously. 158 doesn't come easily. But now that we are entering, the the week 3 preparations, what do you have in store to kind of beef up your team? Um, we talked about Aaron Jones doing well, but other than that, you kind of lacked points from your RBs. Is that an area that you're trying to fix up either through the waiver wire, through some trades? What are you looking at for your week 3 matchup, to keep this train rolling?
Definitely. Yeah, it's a spot of anxiety, certainly. I made a last second move to take Ezekiel Elliott out and put in Cordero Patterson last week. Really didn't make a difference. They both ended up scoring between like 4 and 6 points, so they both sucked. Uh, so I think everybody's looking for running backs. And I think I'm not at the top of the list in need, so I'm not going to do anything crazy, but definitely looking for running backs. Raheem Mostert appears to be one of the kind of probably top guys on the waiver wire, but I am a little bit more conservative than most and always struggle to make those waiver wire moves because I get too attached to my players.
Yeah, that's always tough for me too. Like when I had to drop Daryl Henderson, which ended up just biting me in the ass after
Mhm.
that freaking, we don't need to talk about that trade. But I mean, Raheem Mostert for me as well too. It's just like Chase Edmonds. I'm watching this game. He gets none of the rushing attempts. It doesn't even seem. And like, what did Miami end up putting up? Like 38 points. I just don't understand how he's like not involved in that offense. I'm just in disarray over here on my side of fantasy football. But you definitely got some teams you can trade with. There are some guys who have running backs aplenty. So, definitely if you're one of those guys, I would hit up Sam Elliott's line. Sounds like he might be in the market for that.
Definitely, but to be honest, I was taking a little look around the league, and I feel like the teams that are really in need of, running back, Josh is in kind of an interesting position in terms of running back. Uh, Let me just pull up exactly what he's got, but he had Kareem Hunt, and then he picked up Daryl Henderson and James Conner. So they actually have been putting up decent points, but it just doesn't sound like the strongest top three in my mind. And then he went against Tate, obviously, last week, who has like, the best running backs in the league with DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, and what's his name, Jamal Williams or Javante Williams. So if anyone needs running backs, me included, I feel like Tate's got to be the number one stop that you're going to, trying to get one of those big three off of his hands since he still has a lot of depth to it. But I feel like everyone is looking around at the running back position for waivers every week, and I think really what we're waiting for is who's going to get hurt. You know,
Right. Yeah. I feel like it's like the same story every single year for running backs. Maybe an area that I know we are adept at changing the league. Maybe we look into that position a little bit next year. Definitely like, the format of fantasy as we have it right now, but something to consider. All right, let's move towards the rest of the fantasy league. Who are your top teams? Give me a couple of your top teams that you're looking at with yourself, and then give me some of the teams that you're not very concerned with going forward for the rest of the season.
well, I think got to give a shout out to Jared. Jared's got to be up there, especially after this week. He had the largest points differential, beating Schneider by
70
70
bomb.
points, a 70-point victory.
That's a big one.
And I look at Schneider's team, and I think I wouldn't put him at the bottom of the list, honestly. I think in my Fantasy Pros projected standings, they do put him at the bottom of the league. But I don't know. You look at his team: Najee Harris, Cooper Cup, Mike Evans, Kyle Pitts. He's got some parts that he could put some things together, but I wouldn't put him at the top either. I think another team that obviously you aided in their rise that I look at and get scared is Jeff's team. Obviously, Dalvin didn't do well this week, so that hurt him significantly. But having Lamar Jackson, Saquon Barkley, Dalvin Cook, Jamar Chase as a kind of big four there certainly makes you anxious. But then also at the bottom, at least based off of last week, you got to look at Alex Higgins and Aaron Schwecke putting up no points alongside our gracious host AC,
Watch
those are
your
the ones,
fucking mouth.
those are the ones that definitely need to see a bounce back week to get a sense of where they're going to be at moving forward. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think you covered a lot of the bottom tiers. I actually have JT and Wooly though right at the top with them. JT obviously leading the standings right now, 4 points, only team to be at the top with 4. Especially if Waddle can get 34 points along with Tyreek Hill, who's got 36. Like that just seems insane to me. Maybe not sustainable, but obviously with Josh Allen too, he's pretty set at the quarterback position for the rest of the year, assuming no injuries happen. Pretty solid play from the rest of his team too. Also, Garrett Wilson on his bench with 26. So I don't know. I think you might be sleeping on JT a little bit. That might just be like a personality thing, though. You got to imagine, JT throughout the years, he makes mistakes. He doesn't play the right guys. So maybe a little of history bias coming from Sam on that one. But and like I said, Wooly, second year in the league, just been really impressed with the teams that he's been able to put out week to week. Let's just do a quick standings recap. Josh, really on the standings this week. Haven't seen any mistakes from him the past 2 weeks. What's your over under on when he fucks that up?
Oh, I mean, next week, absolutely. I mean, are we sure he hasn't messed anything up? Did we
I
run the
actually,
numbers?
my team, it's like I don't care about it the week after I just like completely fuck up in fantasy. So I might have to do a deeper dive on that. But standings as they are right now, we've got Justin Thompson with 4 points, 2 guys with 3. That would be Matt Woolery and Josh Palmer. Really packed in the middle here with 2. We have Sam Elliott, Jared, Sam Nodler, Jeff Osborne, Tate, and myself managed to squeak out 2 last week. Thank the Lord. 2 with 1 point. That would be Aaron Schwecke and Alexander Higgins and Schneider, who you're a little high on. I don't think I'm as high on Schneider's team as you might be, but
I'm not high on it, but I'm just saying he's obviously at the bottom in terms of points. He has 0 points. He's at the
0
bottom of the
points.
Fantasy Pros ranking as well. But when you look at the team, I don't think it's as dire straits that it maybe he's feeling at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I'm kind of impressed, like with the standing. I know it's early. I know it's only 2 weeks in, but I feel like we have a lot of separation, like early on. Like you have a lot of teams that are 4 and a lot of teams that are 0. So kind of like to see, the evenness throughout the league. We'll see what happens as we move on. But right now, seems like a dogfight in the COVOMFFL league.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's always so difficult with the 2-point scoring system that things can swing so quickly. Especially early in the season in terms of standings. You can, if a couple weeks where you score 0 points can kind of devastate you, which I have certainly been on the losing end of.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Can I also interrupt? I don't know where to interject this, but did you see Higgins' team name this week? And has that always been his team name? Because I
That
don't think it has been.
I think that was his team name early on. It's not helping him, so I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. But the QAnon anti-jabbers. I mean, he's going for it. He is
That's so
going for
good.
it.
Yeah, that was an
Uh,
ugly matchup for him and Schwecke, but at least he pulled a point out of it. So I
yeah,
guess he's on the winning side there.
yeah. Good job. Good job, Higgy. All right. Um, let's do it. Let's do a Vikings recap.
Well,
Um,
let's take a minute before we transition to say I think you have to answer for yourself a little bit here. Scoring
okay.
61 points this week, being the lowest scorer of the league so far, or of the week.
All right.
How are
That's
you?
fair.
How'd you feel Sunday? How are you feeling moving forward with your team after a performance like that?
Um, my team is really, really bad, and I don't have a lot of moves to make it better. Like I said early on in that Miami game, I'm just watching Chase Edmonds. I'm watching the box score, and he's getting nothing. This was a guy that was involved in that trade to Jeff Osborne early on. Um, Yeah, he wasn't getting the ball, ended up with 4.6. I don't really know moving forward what his role in that offense could be. It's kind of encouraging that it is a high scoring offense, but definitely doesn't seem to be super involved right now. I made a controversial decision to play Juju Smith over Michael Thomas. I was a little concerned week one when Michael Thomas only had 5 receptions, 2 for touchdowns, but didn't know if that was going to be sustainable against a good Tampa Bay team. And apparently it was. He put up 15.5, so made a bad move there. Um, Tom Brady and Kirk Cousins are not getting it done for me. I'm probably going to be spending some money this week on Tua. But again, he has a terrible matchup next week against the Bills. So it's not even like an immediate turnaround. Might have to rock with Brady again. The next week, Jerry Judy got hurt, involved in the trade as well. Uh, is Pat Fryermuth my best player? He might be getting 10 points for me back to back weeks. He's probably my best guy. Devontae, obviously my actual best guy, only put up 8.2. He might have to be some trade bait for me going forward to get some guys, but it looks bad. It looks pretty grim. Julio didn't play either. So yeah, it's going to be tough. I'm going to have to get pretty lucky here with some pickups.
Yeah, well, hey, at least Cam Akers, he had a little bit of a bounce back, scored 7 points. At least it's in the right direction. Maybe he will take on more of that role that you were hoping that he was going to have this year. And at least Jeff Wilson, you spent the money to get him, and at least he put up points as well. So you got a couple guys that need to step up, but it's fantasy football. You can pull off wins.
Yeah, so let's recap the Vikings game. Let's move right past my team. So Monday night game versus the Eagles. Everyone was pretty high on the Vikings going in after that dominant performance versus Green Bay, and that was a pretty brutal one from start to finish. That first drive, they had like a 5 minute drive on us, just converting everything. Jalen Hurts didn't miss a pass. They were basically, no explosive plays in that first drive either, just basically to the flats. And we were not covering anything. Ended in a was that the one that ended with a Jalen Hurts touchdown too? Just like a 5 yarder.
Yeah, first drive of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it didn't get much better after that. We went down 14-0 pretty quick on a blown coverage. Later on in the quarter, at the beginning of the second, don't remember exactly. Um, got a touchdown to Irv Smith later on to make it 14-7. And that's about all Irv Smith did, as we know, because that fucking drop touchdown was disgusting.
Yeah, that was horrific. And that was to put us up back 14-17. Likely that would have been the score going into the half, or 14-21, I think. And that
Yeah,
would have been the score
14.
going into the half, which would have been at least much more manageable and have our hopes a lot higher, especially when we're receiving the ball to start the second half. But as you said, it was like so embarrassing to have zero coverage defensively. We're not even near the receivers when they're catching the ball. It was like, how are we playing this soft of coverage? And they're just torching us. Jalen Hurts is not that good of a quarterback. That's not his strong suit. He's not a fucking sit in the pocket passer picking guys apart. And we couldn't put any defensive coverage pressure on him to make tough passes and just to get torched by the fucking Eagles.
I
The
know,
Eagles are
dude.
the worst.
It just hurt so bad, and we knew it was going to be a hostile environment too. But yeah, just the way that it happened. Um, yeah, I like it, but maybe Jalen Hurts is that guy. Like maybe
Yeah.
he is making that jump. I don't know. Like I don't want to get so down on the Vikings. I have a couple of yeah. It kind of felt like the whole game. Obviously, the Irv Smith drop touchdown, even the kick, the blocked kick. It just felt like we needed kind of like that big play to get us back into it. Like we needed him to return that for a touchdown because the offense just wasn't doing anything. Like we just needed some points from somewhere. Um, Obviously, Kirk throws the pick uh, pretty quickly after that. Just no hope. Just no hope. Basically, the entire game.
Absolutely. And on that pick play, I think the commentators, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, right, who were under some scrutiny within
Bitches.
within some text messages I was a part of, but they were kind of saying that Justin Jefferson bailed out on that play, which it's kind of hard to tell, but they're kind of saying that Jefferson kind of
Right, that
faked
was the first
back.
bit. Yeah, where
Oh yeah,
he
yeah.
yeah, where he kind of like cuts he's supposed to cut across Darius Slay there and just kind of bailed on it. Yeah, I mean I saw that too. Let's do a little Kirk Cousins here. Obviously a lot going on in the group message surrounding Kirk Cousins. Um, I don't want to get into specific people who have problems with Kirk Cousins, but obviously it was a bad game from him. Uh, didn't play well. No one on the Vikings really played that well. Cam Dantzler had like that one drive where he looked pretty okay. Um, but how do you feel about Kirk going forward and the Vikings' ability to actually make a deep run this year with our currently constructed roster?
Well, you know what? I feel great about it because Kirk Cousins is a man of the Lord. He's got faith on his side. He's got our current president, Donald Trump, on his side because, as you know, Trump loves him. He loves Trump. So we got faith, our great president, and motherfucking most of the state of Minnesota. So, I think he's going to lead us to the promised land through the aid of our good Lord. And really anybody who questions him just hates God, hates democracy,
Hates
and
America.
hates America. So
Yeah. So you're absolutely right about that. We're still leading the division too. We're 1-1. What we weren't going to go 17-0.
exactly, might as well get it out of the way right before a big divisional game that we have that kind of feels like a trap game for us to just be sad about the season. But hey, maybe we'll just trounce the little fucking kitty cats and go 2-1 and really be at the top of the division.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit around the league. Who are some of the teams? We mentioned the Eagles. I think the Eagles, they looked really good. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the NFC going forward. There are some obvious winners like the Bills. Why don't you talk about some of the teams that you like around the league and maybe some bets that you were doing this weekend that you liked from teams that you liked?
Sounds good. Well, I mean, obviously, it's interesting. I was looking at the lines a little bit. The Bills were a 10-point favorites over the Titans in this past week, and they, in this upcoming week, play the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, they're hot. They're both 2-0, both in the AFC East, and they're 5.5-point favorites over the Dolphins. So it's still obviously a big favorite, but it is interesting to see the degree to which here we are in week 3, the Titans are being kind of considered that having that less of a chance of winning against the Bills compared to the Dolphins. Most people would probably have been pretty high on the Titans coming into this year, but they now sit 0-2. So looking rough for them. A team that I think is a risky but maybe good betting team is the Chargers. A lot of people like the Chargers. You're high on them this year, but they haven't quite gotten those wins. So you still get pretty good action on them in terms of spreads and money lines. So I think that's a good one. I think one that's I have a difficult time with as a team, especially from betting format, is the Ravens. What do you think of the Ravens? Are the Ravens the real deal? They obviously just lost this game to Miami after a choke fest, and they go. I think they're going into New England, but regardless, they're playing New England this upcoming week as 3-point favorite. So not a huge favorite against a team that has not looked very good.
Yeah, I don't really know what to like think about the Ravens. It was funny. I was like listening to a podcast, and it's like, especially with that Miami game, the Ravens are kind of built to win those games because they have like such a strong running game because they can kind of close out these close games at the end. They obviously blew it to an electric Miami team, um, but yeah, it's going to be tough for that. It's kind of concerning, like their roster and like how little that they do have. Obviously, Lamar's sick. They got Bateman, who looks pretty decent to start off the season. Mark Andrews too, but I don't think anyone on that team other than Lamar like really necessarily scares you. And they're supposed to have this strong defense, but Tua threw 6 touchdowns on them. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised at how little that line is, especially with how bad the Pats are. But that is a scary one.
Yeah, maybe they're just not that good. Maybe the Patriots D will be able to hold them in check since, as you're saying, they don't have all of the offensive tools as you kind of get the feeling with Baltimore, like, oh, they got this amazing offense. And yeah, they got Mark Andrews, Bateman, and Lamar, but they kind of don't have the surrounding cast to really put it together for them. So
Right.
we'll
You
see what
still
happens.
gotta like them in the division, though. I mean, that division is dog shit with the Browns blowing it to the Jets. Freaking Joey Badass Burrow 0-2. Lost a teaser parlay with that one, losing to the fucking Dakless Cowboys. And then Pittsburgh, who doesn't have much going for them either.
I was just looking at the standings, and to my surprise, the Jaguars are leading the AFC South at 1-1. They're at the top of the AFC South ahead of the 0-1 Texans, 0-1 Colts, and 0-2 Titans. There
Wow.
we go. Let's look at those odds. What's the odds for Jaguars to win the AFC South? Probably
Yeah, I kind of
freaking
like it. I mean, they're
colossal.
breaking the Urban Meyer curse. Jeez, that is crazy. That is crazy. Any teams that who do you got being worst team in the NFL this year?
The Bears. I think the
Bears?
Bears are
The
horrible.
Bears?
I think they're a bad team. I think they win 4 games this year.
Wow. And then give me your Super Bowl pick. Give me the Super Bowl matchup and then your Super Bowl pick.
Well, it's hard, especially
Oh,
with,
also before you say the Bears, one team I wanted to say the Colts, man. They are terrible.
yeah, they look bad.
They
Matt,
look that's maybe my pick for worst team in the league.
they just
0 points against Like I know we just talked highly of Jacksonville, but it's like you can't get anything with Jonathan Taylor.
yeah, that was
Pittman's
crazy.
out, I guess, but best
Yeah,
running back in the league.
yeah, that was horrible. And I think that Colts fans, they have just deluded themselves this past season thinking that, oh, Matt Ryan, now we're gonna have the piece for our offense to be good. Carson Wentz wasn't good enough for us. He wasn't good. So now we'll have Matt Ryan, who is former Super Bowl champion, right? Oh wait, no, he
No,
lost 3-28.
garbage.
But
Matt is the highlight of Matt Ryan's career throwing a touchdown on his first NFL pass, and then has it just been downhill since then?
I mean, seems like it. But I think that they also, yeah, they are a bad team. That is a correct identification there. They are going to struggle.
All
But
right.
for championship,
Yeah,
I
Super Bowl
mean,
pick.
definitely give me the Bills. Definitely going Bills into the Super Bowl. But from the NFC, I have a much tougher time. So, do you believe in the Buccaneers? That's really the thing. Do we get a Bucks versus Bills? That's probably the best or the favorite betting line to make the Super Bowl would be Buccaneers versus Bills. At this point, I'll sit here today and say Vikings versus the Bills, and then Bills beat us to win their first ever Super Bowl and to continue the curse of the Minnesota Vikings. So there you go. You heard it here first.
Wow. And that would be historic. Bills beating their Super Bowl curses with the Vikings Super Bowl curse. I mean, talk about the press going into that game. That would be electric. Um, well, Sam, it was a pleasure having you on. Congratulations on your top scoring week. We wish you well. I mean, my chances of winning this league are just zero. So I wish you good luck going forward. Can't say that for the rest of the league, but it was a pleasure having you on. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Beware, rest of the league. If you're still listening to this, fucking watch out. I'm coming for you. You guys all fucking suck. Your teams aren't doing shit. And I'm going to win this league. So there you go.
There you go. Sam coming in hot. Thanks, buddy. That concludes episode 3 of AC's Fantasy Recap. Special shout out to Sam. Thank you for joining us this week. And it's been a great season so far, boys. Happy to be a part of it. As always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one. All right. Peace.